Hey, we're Sports Guys Iowa in the Peacock Corner. Thanks for tuning in. WJR producer John Gunderson, safely tucked away in his ultra cool Peacock bunker, the Alpha Peacock, Mike Schrock. How we doing, Mike?
Doing pretty good. Warm. You and I got to hang out at the Luca Garza Academy camp there in Fayette. Got to meet the big guy and his dad in person. Got our picture taken with him, a few autographs. Just another great day in Fayette. So I'm still flying pretty high about that. But I tell you what, one of our most requested guests is who we now have on the show today. I have gotten several messages from our Peacock women's soccer group saying, you need to have Coach Partick Ritter on the show. And I'm like, hey, can we give the guy a break? He just got his kids on campus. He's in his second year. This is his first real recruiting class. Let me see if we can get him. And you know what, Warren? We were able to just barely today, nab him. So I want to welcome UIU women's head soccer coach, Coach Partick Ritter, to the show.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'm glad we were able to make it work. I was starting to sweat a little bit, getting worried y'all weren't going to get me on here. So we made time, and I'm glad we were able to get it to work.
Well, everything's kind of ramping up fast for you guys right now, Coach. 2 scrimmages, 3 matches, and the first road trip of the season, all before Labor Day. So it's on. It's happening right now, and I'm given to understand that you guys had a scrimmage over in Dubuque this past Sunday. How did that go? And then more broadly, how valuable are these scrimmages to kick off a season to measure where your girls are at right now?
Yeah, game-wise, this is kind of a crazy year because we're starting our regular season before school starts at Upper Iowa. So it's kind of a unique experience that we're going to be going before everyone else is kind of back on campus and ready to gear up. But yeah, we just had a scrimmage. We're only 1 week in, and it was our first look to see them against someone else. I think, as you would expect, every team will have some growing pains after the first week. But it's really important for us to see them in the scrimmages, give some of our freshmen a chance to show what they can do. I would say some of them were pretty nervous, but scrimmages give us that opportunity to kind of work those nerves out before we get into our regular season play.
Coach Ritter, just looking over your roster this year, and one of the things that really stands out in your second season as the head guy at UIU, it looks like you brought in 16 new faces this year. But also with that, you're bringing back, I counted 6 players back to this year's team from last year that had over 1,000 minutes. And you've got 2 experienced goalkeepers coming back. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like to have that experience when you're bringing in so many new bodies this year?
Yeah, so we ended up with 17 new people. So I'll correct you a little bit on there.
Wow.
We have 16 freshmen that Coach Brady Grabansky and myself were able to work together to bring in. She did a fantastic job recruiting this year too. So I definitely don't want to take all the credit. She definitely did an amazing job helping us find some more amazing young ladies. And then I brought a transfer from my previous institution that I thought could really help us out. So having 17 new faces out of 30 is a big taking. I think we're going to be one of the youngest teams in the conference this year, but that doesn't change the quality we expect to have out of them. And as you mentioned, we have 13 returners. A lot of them played a lot of minutes last year. We were pretty small as far as our roster goes. I came in last spring, so it's a little bit late on the women's recruiting cycle to try to bring in some. We were able to steal a couple late that brought a lot of quality, but overall we had a small roster, so they had a lot of minutes. And I think that kind of wore down the leg some too. So we had some injuries last year. And so Brady and I decided we needed to make sure we had a full roster. And with that helps when you have some injuries, but it also helps increase the level of competition that we have in practice to help us prepare for this tough conference slate. So we knew we needed new players. We needed some new blood in the program and brought back some key returners that I think are going to perform for us really well. I don't know if we're going to hit the same amount of minute count as last year. I think we can rotate players a little bit, keep players a little more fresh throughout the season this year. But I think the quality has really risen no matter how many minutes each of them are going to get.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that quick, Coach Ritter. You talked about some key players, and obviously, yeah, you don't want to it's hard to play with dead legs. But going back to kind of those key contributors from last year that are returning, can you speak a little bit maybe on a few of those individuals that are coming back that you're looking to help be the motor of this year's team?
Yeah, I think we always want to start with who I would say is probably the premier female athlete on campus, with Haley Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Being a multiple sports star. And we're constantly getting her, trying to figure out how we can get her in the right spots to score a lot in soccer. And I think everyone kind of knows her exploits in track and field. So she's kind of the number one that everyone in the conference looks at, because with that, I think she's also probably the fastest player in all of our conference play. So a lot of teams are preparing for her. So it's really important that we find ways to still utilize her when she might get some double teams. She might get some teams sitting a little deep because they're a little wary of her speed, and trying to find the right ways to kind of get her going. We have some good returners all throughout, from sophomores all the way up to, we were able to get one of our seniors to come back and be a grad student and join us. So that's Erin Hatiko. So I think we have a lot of players in those positions. Her, Jessica Anchetta coming back. Jessica started almost every game since she's gotten here. So it's important to have a good mix of players that understand the conference. They understand what it takes to be a Division II athlete and how hard that grind is when you're playing 2 games every single week. So having that leadership in the senior and some grad students is going to be really important, especially because of how young we are this year.
Well, Mike spent some time looking at the roster, Coach, and I did as well. I noticed that the 2026 roster lists 4 girls from the state of Iowa and 5 more from states that share a border with Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
The rest are from all over the place. And from my mind, getting an athlete from 1,000 miles away to even notice your program feels like a big lift, but you guys do it a lot. So maybe it isn't. How do you guys do that? How do you make those connections 1,000 miles away?
Yeah, when I came in, I wanted to make sure we got the best players, no matter where they were. Part of that was finding players around the country that we see out recruiting. We go to a lot of club soccer tournaments, but part of that is trying to get us to get the best players in Iowa as well and the surrounding states. So that was something we wanted to find a good balance there. So as you mentioned, we got 4 from Iowa. Last year, we had just 1 when I arrived. And then we were able to get a couple more going into fall season. And then each year we've kind of increased that to where we think we can get the best talent in Iowa now. We're the only Division II school here. We think we can find the right players. And then it's just trying to find the right mix to get us a strong culture of players. So we went out. Brady did a lot of recruiting down in Texas. I went out to California. I've been out to Washington. And we try to find the best players. We went to girls academy tournaments. We went to ECNL, which is the top in women's soccer for club. And we went to local high schools. And we said, how can we get the best group of talent here? And then how can we mix them together? And part of that is the previous staffs brought in some players from great distance. And we did the same. And we said, they know how it feels to come to Upper Iowa. They know how to get that feeling of homesickness out with togetherness, and they know how to bond together, and they're going through similar things. And we wanted to build a culture where players from Hawaii and players from Washington and California want to be a part of it. And it seems weird because we say we're this little farming area in Iowa, and people ask them all the time of, why would you go from Hawaii to Iowa? Because everyone's looking at the beaches and everything, but we wanted to be a second home for them. It is a great distance, but I think they fit right in with the family feel that we wanted to have.
Well, it's a program. You're offering a program, but then it's also you're going after athletes that are pursuing a major course of study that is something that Upper Iowa University offers. So at the intersection of those, you got a chance. The fishing's probably pretty good there, but 17 incoming freshmen, as you had called out, they're going to have steep ramp up as far as getting to know each other and learning how each of them plays and learning to trust each other. Big lift right now, but yeah, I would say that those 2 scrimmages that you've got at the front end of this thing are going to go a long ways towards evaluating what you have. Mike, do you have a question for Coach?
I sure do. And I want to stay along the lines of recruiting here because, again, Coach Ritter, this really being his first recruiting season. As he said, he came in late last season, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. He didn't get a lot of time to build the roster for last year, so you kind of had to play with what you had. But this year you got a full season to do that. And as Warren mentioned, you're bringing kids from hundreds of thousands of miles away to come to little old Fayette. But there must be something in the visits that you do that these recruits and these families really trust you as a head coach. And I want to kind of pick your brain a little bit about maybe what your recruiting style is or your approach is to these kids that come from great distances.
Yeah, we kind of built a process. So we looked at it and said, Fayette's a special place. Upper Iowa's a special place, but it's also a unique place. We're not in a major city, but I always want to be honest with people of sometimes that's a good thing, is we have a different culture here at Upper Iowa. And I grew up on a farm in Kansas. It's farming life is a different culture. And when I say that to our recruits, it's the way people treat you is completely different. And the best example I can give, so a lot of people will know the Harms family. I'm actually in the Harms family home, is the house that I bought when I moved here in Sumner.
Oh.
And my neighbors, when they know that I'm out on games, they'll come over and mow my lawn. I don't ever say anything. They'll come over, they'll mow it. They'll take my trash cans back. And last year when I first got here, I was working a camp. They moved in a bed for me. And I think just that kind of show of what neighbors are like, that's the whole feel in a farming area of people really, really care about you and they look out for you. And you don't have to ask for that. I think I've lived in some major cities. Sometimes you don't even talk to your neighbors in a major city. Where here, they could ask me to watch their dogs and they know I'm going to do it. You could leave your door unlocked and you don't have to worry about anything. They're keeping an eye out. And I think when it comes to recruiting, we're honest about that. Of a lot of players want that. They love the fact that people are there for them instead of just being people that are around. We don't have to worry about high traffic, people honking at you, flipping you off, nothing like that. And we're honest. And I think players really like the sound of that, of they're going to a faraway place from home. It's going to be scary, but everyone is really nice here. And we hear that all the time of just everyone's so nice. Parents come on here, they drop their kids off, and just everyone they interact with. It's just a different culture and they really buy into it and they learn to love it. And that's where we have players coming back every year. When you would think you could be on the beach, you could be doing these other things. And I'm sure they all would love to do that more than just spring break or when they get to go home for the summer. But it's hard to replace the people here and how you're treated. And that's really important. But our process for recruiting is we kind of built it out and said, we've got to find the right people. And to do that, we have multiple steps. So the first thing we do, I have a FaceTime with everyone. I kind of got away from a normal phone call. I got away from the emails a little bit. We'll still do initial contacts, but I want to have the face-to-face with our players. Everyone we recruit, we're going to have a face-to-face conversation, even if it's over the iPad, the iPhone, everything. It's so much easier when we can actually interact and we can see if they're liking what we say. We could see if they're going to fit our culture. After we have the initial call, they really like what we have to say. We try to set them up on a visit, whether that is the option. Luckily, our school has an amazing option to do a virtual visit for some of our players that can't make it out here. And so we set them up with that. They meet with admissions, but a big part of that is they get to meet with the faculty that they're going to be in classes with. So even if that's a half hour, it still shows them this is someone that's going to care about you. And our faculty can talk with them about those things and the things they're going to have in class. And it's just another element to show them how amazing our people on campus are here. After that, we try to set up a FaceTime with our players, with some of the girls. We'll try to get I always try to get someone that's as close to the area of them as possible so they can really talk about the differences and the similarities. And then once we kind of go through that process, we've got them applied, we've got them accepted, they've met the team, everyone feels good about it. Then we start talking about making offers. So I do draw out the process a little bit from that aspect, but it helps us find the right people and they show that they really love it here. Because I think especially on the women's side, you want to make sure that it feels like home for them. the money is always going to be important for every family. I want to be honest about that. The offers are always important, but I think more so on the women's side, they want to know that their daughter's going to be in the right spot and they're going to love it here. And so we go through that process to make sure it is a great fit. And that really helped us not have a lot of people turn us down. You go through all that and you start to feel really good about it. And then if they still want to visit, we had a couple that still flew out. A couple came out for homecoming last year. They got to see what campus was like. Luckily we were all here at home at the same time, just like we are this year. And they really enjoyed it. And that was just the last straw to get them there. And then we felt good about it. And as you see, when you have 16 new freshmen, we hope we're doing something right. But I think we just did a good job of making sure all those steps that we found the right people that want to be in a smaller school, work with teachers more one-on-one, and they're really going to buy into the culture we have here.
Was really good points, Coach. And anybody can send an email. So I think it's really too easy to do this right now with the calls and everything. So they can hear your voice. They can see the faces. They can get that message as opposed to just getting something, opening up an email. Like we get 1,000 of those a day. So I think that the extra lifting that you do to establish those face-to-face opportunities to communicate with each other is absolutely huge. And by the way, your personal stories around how folks are in and around the Fayette area over around the summer, I never get tired of hearing that stuff. That is absolutely awesome.
Right.
Mike and Warren in the Peacock Corner with Upper Iowa women's soccer coach Partick Ritter. Conference wins last year against Southwest Baptist 2-1, Illinois Springfield 1-0. 10 goals in 18 games last year, so you have to be just about perfect on defense to have a 50-50 chance at least a draw. Got a couple of your leading scorers back. That's good. Now, what do you think you might have under the hood? New tactics here moving into 2026 where your confidence level that your offensive firepower will be elevated.
Yeah, scoring was a problem for us last year. There's no other way to put it. We were a little thin up top. We were rotating players up there. That is not their natural position. And I played soccer. We all understand when we play a sport, sometimes in college, you get moved around a little bit. Sometimes it's important to get that playing time of, yes, coach, I'll move there. But scoring was a problem for us. And part of that was me trying to figure out of what this conference looks like, what's going to work. I think after a year under our belt, I think we have a good picture of what we feel is going to be successful. And then the other part of it is finding some natural players up top that can put the ball in the back of the net. And I feel we did a really good job of that. We have a good group of players coming in that are good at scoring goals. There's no other way to put it. I think the best example we look at is Marin Hudson coming out of Kansas City. She was the offensive player of the year for her region last year, first team All-State in Missouri. She had 18 goals and 12 assists, if I remember correctly. And she's someone that can put it in the back of the net, but she can find people. And that was going to be important for us of finding a lot of players like her. Aubrey Carlson coming out of Washington. She can put the ball in the back of the net. I've seen them score in person well enough playing club. And we had a lot of players that also played over the summer quite a bit. They were able to get on some summer teams and get a little bit different look, get a little more minutes under their belts. Even some of the incoming freshmen were able to play a little bit over the summer. And that's going to be important, is to try to build that confidence early. And then we add on to players. Like you said, we have our leading goal scorer coming back, Gio. And when you look at it, she led us in scoring and didn't play all the games because she had some injuries. So having her come back and be ready and kind of get to see what she can do going through a full season, hopefully. And then again, we add on the pace of Hutch, and can players connect with her this year? I think that was kind of a problem of, we could get the ball out there, but it was hard for us to keep up with her to get in the box. And so we went out and found some players that could get in behind. They could challenge opponents' defense. I don't think we did a good job last year of really challenging them. And we brought some physicality in, which is going to be really important. I know we had an odd number the first day of practice. I had to jump in, and one of our incoming freshmen put a shoulder in my eyeball right away. It was something that it hurts in the moment, but you're excited to see of someone that instantly comes in and is just willing to get in the trenches and make things happen to score goals. And so we were really excited about that. So we made some changes to how we play. We feel we're fast, so we're going to try to play fast. and finding the right players that can connect and get in the box and put it in the back of the net was going to be really important for us. And I think we found the right players for that.
I think the additional depth that you're bringing in as well, Coach, will assist you here throughout a long season, where you might have 2 or maybe 3 matches in a week's time. Then you can go a little bit deeper into the roster, get a few more girls out there. You'll have fresh legs at the end.
Yeah, Coach, I'm going to ask you a question that's a really, really tough question to ask, and because there's no right answer, right? And I'm just looking kind of your perspective on this. Bringing in 17 new bodies this year, you've got a number of returners coming back. You play 11. How do you keep those girls happy? How do you keep because you're building something here at Upper Iowa, and everybody has a piece of that puzzle. What are your tactics to try to keep everybody on board, even though you can't play everybody at once?
Hey, if you have the right answer, I'd love to hear everything about it. But something we talk about with our program is everyone's important. Everyone is a key to our success. Everyone is a key to wins and losses. And it doesn't matter your playing time. It doesn't matter your starts. So we had a talk with them of, we're going to have 11 starters. I can't start 30 people. So we have 11. It'll change week to week sometimes. You never know where people are. Then we need some game changers coming off the bench that are, every time they touch the field, they're providing a lot of energy. But we don't want the energy to stop there. So we also are going to have supporters. Our supporters are going to be the players that are fighting in practice. They're pushing everyone. They're ready if their name's called, but maybe sometimes they're not able to get some playing time. But their energy is going to be just as high. They're going to be just as important of preparing us for the game. And it is a hard thing to come here. Everyone was a starter. We're probably not recruiting you if you were sitting the bench your entire high school career.
Right.
Everyone's a starter, and everyone now has to, we don't want to say embrace their role, but we want them to own the role. We want them to be leaders in their role. And it changes week to week. I can say in my career, I wasn't a long-time starter. I was called upon and I performed when I was called upon, but otherwise I brought energy off the bench. I went through some injury spells and I had to kind of be that leader that knew I wasn't getting in the game. And I think everyone can bring that energy, and it's going to be important for us to always have that, and that everyone knows that they are going to be important to our success. Everyone's going to be important to our success, even if unfortunately, soccer has some crazy knee injuries. Sometimes someone might be injured for the whole season. It doesn't change their importance to us. It doesn't change their involvement with us. And it just changes what their game is. Their game now becomes rehab. And that's going to be just as important to make sure that everyone sees them working just as hard, and they can still motivate, and they're still locked in. Even at our first scrimmage the other day, we had someone that was out with an injury. Each period, we played 3 periods, and in between was still being a voice because she's still locked in. She's paying attention. And that's going to be important for our team, is to make sure no matter which role you're in for each game, that you are owning that role, and you're showing that every single role is just important for our wins. And every single role is important for our growth, and everyone's working together the whole time. And it's a tough thing. It really is. Everyone wants to start. Everyone wants to play 90 minutes. And it's just not possible for everyone. So we've got to make sure that we put the players in the right spot and that they can really star in whatever role we give them.
Pretty cool. Coach, I saw you were in your bio that you were a math major. How'd you get into coaching? What interested you in math?
Yeah, so I started with physics. I always wanted to be an astrophysicist. People think it's crazy, an actual rocket scientist. And when I transferred from my junior college, I wanted to keep playing soccer. And they didn't have physics, so I switched to mathematics. And when you play sports and you graduate and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, you just can't quite get rid of that bug. And luckily for me, when I was a freshman in college, our high school season in Wyoming, where I went to junior college, was opposite of us. So my coach, my very first year, already recommended me to go coach high school girls JV at night. So I did it, and I kind of got that coaching bug early. I never thought I would be a coach. I think every young male thinks they're going to be a professional athlete. And I was pursuing that even through college. I finished college. I attended a tryout, didn't get called up, accepted a head women's job the next day. So at 23, I was a head coach already. And I still taught a little bit at my first school. So I'll still say I used my degree a little bit, but I just couldn't get rid of sports. I played so many sports growing up. I'm from an athletic family, and my dad is very serious about sports. And I have 3 older brothers, younger sister. Everyone played sports in some way, different sports. But I think once you got the bug, you can't get rid of the bug. I think that's part of the reason why you guys do a sports talk show. You can't quite get rid of that bug when you're involved in sports. And that's kind of how I made it a career now. Is I couldn't get rid of it. I just loved it too much.
Yeah, Coach, I've got a 2-part question. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that you have one of the most glorious beards on your face right now. And so the first part of my question is, did you rock the beard during your playing days? And then the second part is a little bit of a pivot. Talk to me a little bit about your assistant coach and Brady. And you spoke a little bit about her already, but you've got 30 bodies that you two have to look over. Talk a little bit about her role and with the team and how important it is.
Yeah, as a player, I had a little bit of facial hair. I would say it wasn't like this. And I think like all of us do when we're teenagers, we make bad decisions, and I grew my hair out. I even tried to rock a ponytail for a little bit, but my coach in college wasn't having it. He said he wouldn't play me with it. But we all go through that long hair phase, I think, at some point, and then realize it's not it. And I think as you get older, it kind of transitions sometimes to a beard. And I enjoy it. Part of it is just not wanting to cut it. So it kind of goes out. But yeah, Brady came in last year as an assistant, and she works with our goalkeepers, which is really important because goalkeeping is such a specialized group. It's just kind of like a pitcher in baseball, kind of like your quarterback in football. They need different type of training. They need different type of work, and they've got to be more specialized. They're the only ones using their hands. So we've got to make sure they're training that. And that's where she's been really important for us, because I can work with goalkeepers, but my kind of preference is field players. I was a field player. And so it's important to have someone that really knows the position and they know what it feels like. I can always say I can train it, but I really don't know how to properly feel it. I don't know how to make those dives and everything. It looks weird when I do it. I'll make a save, but it's important to have someone that knows the position well. And I think a lot of sports are like that. You're going to have your specialist spots, but more than coaching, she brought a lot of different dynamics to the team. I think it's really important on a women's team to have a female presence too. And so that really helped out. As someone that just finished playing a couple of years ago, she knows what the girls are going through. She knows how to work with it. And with her, it was kind of a nice pairing too, because her husband was also able to get on with the baseball program. So it really worked out for their family that we could get both of them here. And this year, she's kind of taken more on her plate. She took over a lot of our social media, which if you guys check out our social media, we're very active, and she does an amazing job with it. I always tell people I can come up with an idea, but I'm awful at designing. So she's done an amazing job with our social media to really build our presence. The last post she had, it was within 24 hours, we had 10,000 people had looked at it, which kind of showed the traffic that we had on our page was just kind of crazy. And then she's taken over. She really wanted to take over a lot of our travel because we travel with the boys team. So a little bit of element is we want to make sure that we kind of eat the places we want to eat too. We go to the places we want to go. And it was something she said she enjoys doing a lot of those things. And I think as a head coach, when you find someone that you can trust with a lot of those elements, it's a big relief, because it takes a lot of things off your plate when it feels like we do so much as a head coach. To find the right assistant that can take a lot of things and they can run with it and they can do an excellent job is really important. And then add on, she did an amazing job recruiting this year too. And all while she's getting ready to have a baby, which was kind of another crazy part. She's expected to have her second child next month. So to be able to add all that on, and she's still showing up and doing an amazing job, is just a testament of us just trying to pick the right person. And she did an amazing job and will continue to do an amazing job.
Yeah, program at a smaller school. The scale is smaller, but the scope is the same. So you've got fewer people that can do it. They got to do all the stuff. You need to be able to lock arms with somebody that can do half the stuff, and then you do the other half. And that's kind of how it works. That's a really interesting take. And I didn't know that she was about to have a baby.
Yeah, second one coming. The girls already love her first one. And I think the whole team is kind of ready for the second one to come. And I think everyone's really excited. I think anytime someone is able to bring a baby around practice is always a different thing. And everyone's real excited. So I think their family in general has been really embraced here throughout the athletic department. So I think everyone's kind of excited for them. And we have another little one that her husband Joey's trying to kind of get the girl to go towards softball. We kind of want her to come towards soccer, and we can kind of influence the kids as they're in kind of a prime time of their life, just kind of first starting growing up.
Yeah, I will echo your thoughts there. Their family is definitely embraced, and their little daughter she's cute. She'll get you wrapped around her finger real quick. Coach, I want to ask you a fun question now. Not sure if you're a fan of the show. Most people do watch it, but Ted Lasso. This season, Ted Lasso is coaching a female team, and just wondering, watch that show, and B, do you see any similarities between yourself and Ted Lasso?
So I've had people for years try to get me to watch the show. I've seen clips. I've never sat down and watched the show. A lot of people told me that I always reminded them of Coach Beard more than Ted Lasso, just in looks. But I have seen clips of the new show. I think because they're working with the women's program, I think it'll kind of get me to draw in a little bit more. I always say I would love to watch some of them, but sometimes it's just hard to sit down and watch television. I think the most time I watch TV is when I'm on a plane going to recruit. So otherwise we stay locked in, but I would love to kind of embrace what I've seen of Ted Lasso and how he interacts with players. I think that's always important, that everything he does is kind of drive towards the life element more than just the athlete element. And that's something that I think, especially on the women's side, we can always try to do more of and try to engage with the players. And I would say he's a much bigger personality than me. I always tell the girls I'm kind of just middle of the ground, calm all the time. And he adds a little more excitement and has a little more flow to him. So if I could get that, I'm sure the girls would love to see a little more energy sometimes, but I've just seen some clips. I imagine I just see the best parts, and I've seen a couple things, but I might get into it now just because they're going with a women's team and kind of see what that looks like. But right now, when we're in season, it's hard to find time to even turn on the TV, let alone sit down and watch a whole episode of something.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Coach. I've not seen the show either, but I've had so many of the clips pushed to my phone. I feel like I've seen it. So I know where you're coming from there. Entertaining stuff. Busy season of soccer straight ahead. 8 matches in Fayette this fall. But first, come check them out this Sunday at 2:00 as they hold a scrimmage with Wartburg. Coach Partick Ritter, thanks for the time today. Good luck this season. Thanks for hanging around with us.
Coach Ritter, I just want to give you some props here. So calculated in everything you do, the way you were describing your recruiting and just the way that you talk about your team. You can see some of that math major kind of coming out of you there a little bit. I want to give you a shot here, as we do with all of our coaches. We kind of ask them this one simple question at the end of the program. And you talked about your recruiting process and how you kind of string it out, make it very personal. But when you get to that point where you have to answer the question or explain why Upper Iowa, I'm going to ask you, Coach Ritter, why Upper Iowa?
Obviously, that's always a tough question for a kid trying to decide what's the best option for them. I think there's multiple parts to it. I think the first thing, and I'll always go back to this, is how you're treated by the people here. I think I've been at a lot of schools. I've been in a lot of cities in my life. And I think the way people in a farming area treat you is far and above anything you're going to get in a lot of places. So the community really sells it. And I think our soccer culture kind of follows that. We are physical. We want to be competitive, but our players get along. And even when we have conflicts, we're able to resolve them pretty quickly because our culture is so strong. And I think on the women's side, it's almost always the question I am asked, number one of every recruiting call I have: what's your culture like? And we tell them Our girls have a strong culture. They do a lot of things together. They eat together throughout the year. I'm sure you've seen we kind of have a unique thing here where we fist bump people when we interact with them all the time. Every practice in the lunchroom, they'll come by the coaches table and fist bump everyone. All the other coaches have kind of embraced that now, and now they're doing the different turkeys and the snails and everything on the fist bumps. So you get some baseball coaches and the track coach and everyone interacting with our girls like that. I think it shows how strong our culture is. And they've kind of embraced what we want to do on the women's soccer side. And then the other thing that I think really sells us that we do different is how much we care about them. We haven't really mentioned it, but we do meetings with the players every single month, and we do not talk soccer in those meetings. We get to know them. We want to make sure they're set up for life. They're growing. They're on track academically. And some of it is just seeing what makes them tick. What do they like to do for fun? What do they do with their friends? And I think because we embrace that in our culture, the growth we have in our players changes, the buy-in we have changes, and it drives our competitiveness, because I think it's much easier to play with people that you trust, that really care about you, than it is just to be in a cutthroat environment that you might find at a big D1 school where it's either you start or you can't help the team. And with us, everyone's embraced. You're a big part of this, and we want to get to know you as much as players as we do as people, as we do as students. And we're constantly going to drive that forward. And I think that's really important with our recruits is we have a different culture, and that culture is going to be important for us, and your coaches are going to care about you. I tell all of them, it's not just a preseason and post meeting. I'm going to meet with you all year because we're going to get to know each other. It brings me out of my shell. It brings them out of their shell, and we are all going to grow together, and we're going to care about all the little things that some other programs might not care about. They might only care about you as an athlete, and we care about you in every aspect. We still will reach out to players that graduated. One of the girls had one of them on FaceTime the other day while we were getting ready to eat dinner. So we saw one of the former players. I had one reach out to me yesterday saying how excited she is to come back and see how the program's growing. I think that's important because we've embraced that, and we've had those meetings, and we showed we cared about them more than just being a soccer player. And I think that's what sets us apart. And I'm real excited to see, I think the wins are going to come from that because the players want to play together and they want to play for each other, which is going to be a big part of our program.
Well, Coach Jason Hoskins prefers not to call them little things. He prefers to call them details. But potato, I believe the little things are the big things. And it's all those little things that you do that are just woven into how you do business. You don't even think about them anymore. That is the foundation and kind of the glue for the culture that you were talking about. A busy season of soccer straight ahead for these guys. 8 matches in Fayette this fall, but first come check them out this Sunday at 2:00 as they hold a scrimmage with Williamsburg. Coach Partick Ritter, he was going to be the first astrophysicist ever from Kansas. Decided to do something else. Now he's in Fayette. Thanks for the time today, and good luck this season. Hope to bump into you in Fayette this fall.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me on. I enjoyed my time.